Good evening, everybody, and what a fantastic turnout. Really, really pleased to see you all here. The last time I had the opportunity to chair from this stage, I was the prospective parliamentary candidate for Streatham. I am now the Member of Parliament for Streatham. My name is Ribeiro-Addy, and I am the co-chair of the Socialist Campaign Group. And we've got a fantastic lineup of speakers for you today. But before we begin with our Socialist Campaign Group, right, we have got a special guest, Gardiner MP, who is leading on our behalf. Thank you so much, everybody. Yes, you will be hearing from Jeremy, but imagine that. But first, we are going to hear from Gardiner MP, who is leading the fire and against the fire and rehire campaign. Gardiner.
Well, it's such a privilege to be with you. You know, you're the people who actually give us all hope. And I tell you, I don't know any time in the 25 years I've been an MP that I felt I needed hope more. You don't believe that politics is about rule books. You don't believe that politics is about scheming. You believe that politics is a moral crusade. You know that what matters is that we can change things through our action. And if you look what's happening in our country, queues for petrol, no meat on the shelves in the shops. Sorry about the vegans, sorry. You know. But you know, I tell you what, I remember when Margaret Thatcher used to say, Margaret Thatcher used to say, that was what the Soviet Union was like. Well, it's Tory Britain, 40 years on. Boris Johnson, stick it. You know, but sometimes our party seems to be carrying on as if it's just business as usual, business as usual, business as usual. Yeah. Well, you're sick and tired of business as usual, aren't you? Because you know what business as usual means, don't you? It means you can't feed your kids, you can't pay the rent, and you can't feed your homes. And there's one more thing that business as usual means. It means your boss can call you in and tell you that you're fired. But of course, if you want your job back, just come and sign the new contract. We'll take 5,000, 10,000 off your pay. We'll give you a different shift pattern so you can't see your kids. But you'll still have a job, and you'll be one of the lucky ones. So I just wanted to ask you, because I've run out of time. I just wanted to ask you, will you back Barry's bill?
Thank you so much, Barry. And as you can hear, I think a lot of people do back your bill, so that's a great start. So thank you to our special guests. We are going to go in now to the Socialist Campaign Group of MPs, but before we do, I want to say a few words about why we're here tonight, why we fight for socialism, and why, despite the difficulties placed in our way by some in our own party, we must fight against this terrible government, because we do want to fight this government. We do. And now it's time to do whatever some might tell you. There are, to be quite serious, there are 150,000 reasons we need to fight this terrible government. That's the number of people who have died from COVID in this country as the government let the virus rip. Altogether, 1 in 500 people in this country have been allowed to die, and the numbers of cases just keep getting worse. Overwhelmingly, our people, the lower paid, people living in deprived areas, Black, Asian and ethnic minority people, disabled people and the elderly have suffered the most. Or how about the 700,000 people who have been made unemployed? Or the millions facing a cut to universal credit? Or the people suffering the effects of fire and rehire? Or the millions affected by rising fuel and energy prices? Or the people around the world who would have benefited if Jeremy Corbyn had become Prime Minister in 2017? Just imagine the wars we would not have participated in, hot or cold, the refugees who would have not been turned away, the people who have lived here all their lives who have not been rounded up and deported, the people who have not died when aid from this country was cut. The genuine hope that we would have been given from a well-prepared and honest COP26. So there is everything to fight for in the struggle for socialism, a world to win, and the consequences for humanity and for the planet too are too awful to contemplate if we don't win. So, now after that very sobering intro from myself, I'm going to move on to our first set of speakers, and I can't tell you how proud I am to introduce this particular group, because actually one of the things that people criticise the most about MPs is that they don't represent their communities, and I'm proud to be a member of the 2019 intake of the Labour Party, the most diverse. And I can tell you from personal experience what a difference socialist leadership makes, because that intake was 50% Black, Asian and ethnic minority. That intake was 80% women. And most of all, that intake was working class. And so we've got a lot to be proud of in this intake. We've got a lot to be proud of in our socialist MPs. But the first MP we're going to get up today has already blazed a trail and been able to make such a massive effect around the country in terms of the right to food. He has made sure that we won a major, really important motion on conference floor today. And that MP is Ian Byrne, the member for Liverpool West Derby.
Ta, Bell. Look, before I make my short contribution, I want to just say about Barry's bill, because my brother was a British gas worker who was fired, and it's had a huge impact in his life. a really detrimental impact. So as that the thousands of people that are affected by this, I've seen it personally. We've got to back that bill. It's got to come into law, and we cannot let this attack on the working class continue. Great to hear you support it. I want to start by just a couple of words of solidarity to Andy McDonald, one of the most principled men. Since I came in this position in 2019, Andy's been one of the most decent, principled men and someone I look up to. What a loss he is to that shadow cabinet, but what an amazing job he's done. So we all appreciate that. And also, I'd like to add on words of solidarity to the Bakers Union, who've been absolutely magnificent in the Right to Food campaign. They are a proper trade union. And again, a huge loss to the Labour movement. Now, I didn't know what to say tonight. I was umming and ahhing, and I sat in the place down the road on Monday, and it felt like being back in the COP in 2010 when Roy Hodgson was manager, and all the dreams and optimism had been sucked out of us. But today, I want to talk about today, because today was an optimistic time. The Right to Food motion went right through unopposed. It was spoke brilliantly on by two fantastic young activists from the Liverpool and the Wirral, Michael and Luke. And for me, the Right to Food campaign is something which does give us optimism, because what it is, it's a collaboration of people, it's a collaboration of movements, and it's gone from within 12 months when we originally envisioned it, when we pushed it forward. And I always forget, I just want to read out actually what we've achieved, because it's a huge amount, really. The cities that have signed up to the Right to Food: Manchester, Greater Manchester Combined Authority, Liverpool City Region, Gardiner, Brighton, Haringey, St Helens, Preston, Lancaster, Durham, Newcastle, Portsmouth, Sheffield, Birmingham, Lancaster. The trade union movement at the CUC, every affiliated trade union signed up to the Right to Food motion. Today it went through unopposed. We can now fight for it to be in the manifesto. It's a coming together of ideas, but more importantly, it's a coming together of people. Yous are the ones who will end the 11.5 million people living in food poverty in this country. It's got to be a movement of saying no more. Outrage about what's happening in our communities. We've got a £20 universal credit cut, which is going to devastate so many more people. So I'm imploring you, back the campaign. Drive it through every council, drive it through every local authority, write to every MP you can. Push this campaign, because this, for me, is the most important reason why I'm in politics. It's to stop the attacks on my class, because if people are hungry, they can't fight back. And that's a hugely important message which we've got to put forward. So thanks for all the solidarity. The comrades on here have been magnificent in supporting the Right to Food campaign. But let's use this as a left to unite around, to push forward, and to actually do something to fight back. Solidarity, sisters and brothers.
Thank you very much, Ian. So we're going to go straight on to our next speaker. And again, another star of the 2019 intake. I love this sister so much. When I tell you what she has been able to accomplish against a really, really wicked onslaught against her from her own local council has been amazing. So we have Apsana Begum, the member for Poplar and Limehouse.
Thank you so much for that very warm welcome. And Belle, that doesn't get taken from my minutes, does it? I'm so delighted to be here today with you at this rally. I think it's important to start firstly by acknowledging how difficult the last few years have been for everyone. So many working class people and so many ethnic minority people in particular have been disproportionately bearing the brunt of the hardship and suffering of the pandemic. And I know that people feel demoralised and disempowered by the state of things in the party and the future of the party as well. I know that we have powerful enemies in the media, powerful enemies in big business, and powerful enemies in the right wing. We have to recognise that the establishment hostility presents big challenges for us, of course, and that the lengths that the right wing in the party are prepared to go to defeat the left are frightening, as I know more than most. As a survivor of domestic abuse, facing vexatious charges, the last 18 months of false accusations, online sexist, racist and Islamophobic abuse and threats to my safety have been exceedingly difficult. And I'm still having to cope with such things on a daily basis. As such, it's been really hard for me to speak out, actually, and about what I've had to go through. And it goes beyond this summer, actually, and it goes beyond the last few years since being elected. I felt like I've been on the run and at risk around a decade now. I know what it feels like to feel powerless and constantly afraid. And I've known what it feels like to feel completely alone. But I don't want to tell a story of victimhood or hopelessness. Because around 5 years ago, I heard this person called Jeremy Corbyn saying things that made sense and offering an alternative vision for the future, talking about socialism. And comrades, it's this solidarity that has kept me going. It's this solidarity that has inspired me. And it's this solidarity that I know that we will all come together and overcome. Because I know that the Labour Party wasn't founded to represent big business or the elite. It was founded to represent people like you and me. And it's only those that fear democracy that resort to undemocratic measures. But remember that the harsher the tactics undertaken, the greater the fear that those in power are ultimately feeling. The recent Back to Blairism essay, Long and Winding Road, with lots of roadblocks, from Keir Starmer actually shows that the mainstream political elite are struggling to find the political answers to the challenges we face. And it was the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership that provided a glimpse of the future possibilities of mobilisation and empowerment. It was a politics based in the grassroots, exciting, dynamic, and democratic. And like I say, it inspired me personally to get involved in the party and to go on and have the honour to represent the area where I was born and raised, becoming the first Bangladeshi woman to be Secretary of the Timeless Labour Party and the first hijab-wearing MP. A number of Labour MPs who've consistently called for party democracy, for the end of the attacks on our membership and the wave of suspensions and auto-exclusions. It's not just because it's the right thing to do, but it is through democracy that in the end the best outcomes will be achieved. So never forget the extent of your power. You, the membership, have driven progress forward from the grassroots up and are so often ahead of the game in terms of political perspectives. Ultimately, it was you that placed the central questions of public ownership and control back on the political agenda for the first time in a generation, standing up against the tremendous opposition, including a parliamentary coup in 2016. There's no doubt about it that socialist ideas are popular, from public ownership to the Green New Deal, to workers' rights, to national education and anti-imperialism. I, like you, come from a tradition of solidarity and community action. Here in the East End, where I hail from, as history demonstrates, we have been at the forefront of progress in the UK for some time. our match girl standing up against oppression and exploitation against the odds in 1888, our feminist and socialist pioneers founding the East London Federation of Suffragettes in 1914, our councillors being jailed for the Poplar Rates Rebellion in 1921, our Jewish communities and allies opposing fascists at the Battle of Cable Street in 1936, our Bangladeshi communities leading the way on anti-fascist mobilization in the wake of the murder of Al-Tabali in 1978. It's this tradition of socialism, internationalism and socialism that define us, inspire us and teach us that hardship can be overcome. Now is the time to stand together and show what we can do as Labour Party members and as socialists, because this is our party and we can't be going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Apsana. Thank you. And on to another start of our 2019 intake. And you know, it's been a lot of pressure for us. We've been, don't want to have a whinge about being in the 2019 intake, but we're essentially COVID MPs, and most of the time, and you know, we've been put under a lot of pressure, asked to vote for things which we really fundamentally do not believe in. And this individual is one of the ones that would stand up for his community and you know, not be forced into a corner, not be forced to vote for disgraceful bills like the Chiz bill, the Spy Cops bill and all of the others. And I think that's important to applaud our socialist MPs who don't think about themselves but think about the people that they represent. So I'm really pleased to introduce Navendu Mishra, the MP for Stockport.
Thank you, Belle. Please be assured, everyone, I won't go on for ages. So proud to be back here at the World Transformed. I remember the first World Transform session back in Liverpool in 2016. I volunteered, and it was brilliant to see so many people from so many different parts of the UK and abroad come together to take part in politics. I've been coming to Labour Party conferences for close to 10 years, and I've always been told that the real politics takes place in the fringe events, and World Transform has gone from strength to strength, and it's wonderful to see that. Just before I make my key points and shuffle off for the highlight, the speakers that are the main highlight, I will. My gratitude to all the volunteers and staff at the World Transform. They do an incredible job, and it's not been easy during COVID for anyone, but to put on an event like this with so many people, to offer tickets at no cost to people who can't afford them, is incredible. And let's make sure that the World Transform next year is even bigger and better. So thank you. I joined the Labour Party back in the day because of some fundamental values that I believe in. Things like public ownership, collective bargaining, trade unions, fighting climate change and bad bosses, but also some of the really fundamental things. The 192 bus service, it's a local bus service in Greater Manchester, infamous for not so good reasons. And good housing for everyone, absolutely everyone. People who are employed, people who are unemployed, people who have documentation to be in this country, perhaps people who don't, who have arrived here as refugees. And that's why I'm in the Labour Party. And all of you, each and every one of you, will have a reason that made you join the Labour Party. And please don't forget that. And just the last couple of points that I will make is, if you're thinking of leaving the Labour Party, please don't. Please stay. Let's be honest, politics isn't the easiest of things to partake in. It's difficult and it can cost you when it comes to your health, your time, your well-being. But I've always believed in that if you don't speak for yourself, someone else will speak for you, and we can't allow that to happen. So these are the fundamental values that I believe in. That's why I'm in the Labour Party. That's why I choose to be a member of Socialist Campaign Group with these people. And I will make one last shameless plug for the 2019 intake. In the SCG, which, and Belle is a long-suffering victim of all my questions about parliamentary procedures and all those things. So the other speakers will also talk about hope, but what keeps me in the Labour Party is I'm hopeful that we'll be able to deliver this in the next Labour government. Please stay in the Labour Party and fight for our values. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nav. And on to very much one of our hopes for the future. And I say the future because our next MP is called the baby of the house. Now, I think that's a really strange title, given that she could teach some of those old dogs a thing or two. She's absolutely fantastic. Nadia Whittome, the Member of Parliament for Nottingham East.
Thank you so much for that, Belle. And I just want to say what a privilege it is to follow on from you, Apsana. We all love you, sis, and the whole room stands with you in solidarity, and everyone in our movement does. I know many people will be coming away from conference this weekend feeling demoralised and deflated. The left have faced huge attacks, democracy in our party has been undermined, the Bakers Union have been voted off the NEC and disaffiliated, and Andy McDonald, our incredible shadow employment secretary, felt that he had no choice but to resign because he refused to argue against the most basic workers' demands. Yes. £15 an hour minimum wage and statutory sick pay at a real living wage is not a radical demand. That is the bare minimum. But even though it feels justified in this moment, despair will get us nowhere. So we're here to offer some hope. And how appropriate that I'm talking about hope at the World Transformed, because there is no other place that gives me so much hope as TWT, and everyone who has been involved in this remarkable project should be so, so proud of themselves. TWT proves that we, as the left, have the bold, radical answers to the huge crises that face us. The climate crisis, the rise of the far right, soaring, obscene levels of poverty and inequality. None of these can be tackled by tinkering around the edges of a system that is fundamentally rigged. It is socialism or bust for this planet. So giving up for us is not an option, because this is a fight for our very survival, and we have no choice but to win it. So to those of you who feel like leaving the party, I urge you, please, to stay. What would have happened if all those years ago, during the Blair years, if Jeremy Corbyn had left the Labour Party, if John McDonnell had left, if Diane Abbott had left, if all of those members, some of you who will be in this room today, had left the party, but you stayed, despite decades of the left's isolation. We wouldn't be standing here today. We wouldn't have had the Corbyn leadership. We wouldn't have had the most left-wing manifesto to take into the 2017 and 2019 elections. So this is the long game. The right of the party want you to leave. They want all of us to leave. Don't play into their hands. As Socialist MPs, we're only as strong as our class. Our job is to empower others, to amplify their struggles and their voices and demands. And it's not suited and booted politicians that make change. It never has been. It's trade unionists, it's community activists, it's social movements, it's all of you. And I promise you, reinforcements are coming. All over the world, young people whose lives have been defined by insecurity, who've grown up with the climate crisis looming over us, have realised that the system has failed us, that capitalism has failed us. My generation is political. My generation is radical. And mark my words, my generation is going to change everything. As Arundhati Roy said, she said, another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing. So hang in there, comrades. Keep fighting, because we've got a world to win. Solidarity.
Thank you, Nadia. And you know, Nadia mentioned one of our comrades, Andy McDonald. Andy McDonald's not here, but he has something that he wants all of you to hear, and I'm gonna read it out now. I'm sorry not to be with you tonight, but I convey my heartfelt thanks for your support and solidarity. Earlier this week, the party set out a paper from my office and the trade unions, a new deal for working people. I'm proud this work, which sets out how we would deliver full rights from day one of employment for all workers, introducing fair pay agreements across the economy, repealing anti-trade union legislation and other reforms to help workers get a fair shake in our economy. But it was overshadowed because the leadership decided that forcing through rule changes to disenfranchise our party members was more important than telling voters that we are the party of workers. So, I decided I had to resign from the shadow cabinet when the leader's office told me to argue against a national minimum wage of £15 an hour and against statutory sick pay at the living wage. This, comrades, is something I could not do. After many months of a pandemic, when we made commitments to stand by key workers, I simply cannot look those same workers in the eye and tell them that they are not worth a wage that is enough to live on, or that they don't deserve security when they are ill. And this is not just wrong, it's bad politics. The failure to be clear and stand up for people we are here to represent is why the leadership have failed to lay a glove on the worst government I have ever seen. I agreed to serve in Starmer's frontbench team on the basis of the 10 pledges that he made in his leadership bid. I kept my end of the bargain, but he did not keep his. Our movement is more divided than ever. Members and even trade unions are being driven away, and we are desperately far from power. My message to Keir is that he must return to the 10 pledges on which he was elected to the leadership by Labour members. Comrades, if he fails to do so, he should go back to the membership to seek another democratic mandate as a matter of integrity. And if the leadership has any respect for democracy and for our members, I call on them to honour the decision conference took this afternoon for a £15 an hour, national minimum wage and statutory sick pay at a living wage. The message from conference is loud and clear that this movement will never cease in its demand for a better deal for working people, for a better, fairer, more just society, and it will never cease in demanding a Labour Party that can live up to the task. Solidarity, Andy McDonald MP. Fantastic, thank you. So, I'm just going to take a moment because just to tell you, one of the other fantastic things about the Socialist Campaign Group is that, people talk about, London elites and all of us being from London, but the Socialist Campaign Group is truly stretched right across this country, and it's a fantastic thing. So I want to name some of the other members in the Socialist Campaign Group who couldn't join us today, but are very much here with us in spirit, just so that you know that these are your Socialist MPs. So we have Beth Winter MP, Cat Smith MP, Claudia Webb MP, they don't call it the struggle for nothing. Ian Manns MP, co-chair of the Socialist Campaign Group. Imran Hussain MP. John Trickett MP. Kate Osborne MP. Kate Osborne MP. Kim Johnson MP. Marsha de Cordova MP. Mary Foy MP. Mick Whitley MP. Olivia Blake MP. Paula Barker MP. Rachel Hopkins MP. Rachel Maskell MP. Sam Terry MP. Tahir Ali MP. As you can see, we've grown just a little bit since the last time. And we have grown so much that we now include our socialist members from the House of Lords. And I'm just going to go through some of them now because they have been doing fantastic work. Bryn Davies. Christine Blower. Who have we got here? John Hendy. Hello, John. Shami Chakrabarti. Pauline Bryan. Prem Sika. Rachel Hopkins. No, sorry, Rachel Hopkins is an MP. Ignore me. Next one. Tony Woodley. Katie Clark. I've really got them all now, haven't I? Yeah. Oh no, Zara's on her way. So what you're going to hear from her. So, we are going to move on to our next section, and I must say, I came into Brighton feeling very lucky. I got out of the car on my way to the World Transform tent, and a seagull shat on me. Apparently that means I'm going to win the lot. Yeah, Lloyd had arranged it. The next MP I'm going to introduce is one of my oldest comrades, and he has welcomed us to his great city. Although I'm not sure if he welcomed us, we have descended upon him, and he has been very welcome for us to be here. He's absolutely so fantastic. His name is Lloyd Russell-Moyle, and he is the Member of Parliament for Brighton and Kemp Town, and one more.
Thank you, thank you. The list, any of you who are mathematicians will have counted that list number up and worked out that there are 36 members of the Socialist Campaign Group who are serving members of Parliament. Now, we need... Oh, the audience have already got there before me. We need 4 more. And the task is, for the Barrys of the world or for whoever you want, we need them. And we need you to make sure you are selecting them in the future, because this has been a goddamn awful conference with a goddamn awful leadership. And the problem is, he might be a very nice man. But he is not a politician for the Labour Party. And I'm afraid that is a reality, because we saw that at this conference. No politician worth their salt would waste the whole of conference trying to introduce rule changes like they did. No politician worth their salt would wage an internal war on a party when we have one of the worst governments in the history. But I come back to that 4 number. One of the rule changes we did get through that was positive was the role that you play in selecting your MPs. No longer can the NEC in snap elections or by-elections like they did in Hartlepool select and parachute candidates in. Now the decision is done by your local branches. So they can try and gerrymander the electorate, they can try and set it at 20% and need the 40. But I tell you, if we organise, if we prepare, if we stay in the party and we select the right candidates, next time that 40 will be with us and we will have new leadership. And sometimes I hear people, and I've spent most of this conference not on party floor, but sitting at the back of this tent or other tents, just listening in, because I think sometimes that's the role of a member of Parliament, to listen. But some of the complaints that I've heard is that people have said, well, who could we have as running for our leader? Oh, it's so difficult. We need a woman, but who is there? Where is there? Well, I tell you something. In the campaign group, we have got a plethora of amazing women. And wait for it. Look, it's being built up. Don't ruin the end handover. And we have Dawn, we have Nadia, we have Becky, we have Belle, we have Olivia Blake, we have Beth Winter, we have Kat Smith, we have Kate Osamore, we have Kate Osborne, we have got Marsha Di Cordova, who, before I continue on the list, who I want to... No, look, come on, let me wait until the end. You know, who I think actually needs praise as well. 2 weeks ago, she resigned from the shadow cabinet. She resigned from the shadow cabinet saying the bullying, the racism, the nastiness, the determination to destroy the left in Starmer's team was so much she couldn't stay anymore. She deserves praise for speaking truth too. We have Rachel Hopkins, we have Diane, of course, we have Paula Barker, and we have Zara. So don't you tell me we've not got fantastic women that can lead this party and take us to victory. So as the Tories, So I've lost my place now. So we have a party that keeps trying to say that, oh, we'll wait till the election until we tell you our policies. It does, flip-flopping one way or another, not sure where we're going to go. It sounds a bit like what we did on the EU, and who led that part of our policy? So, as the Tories dismantle our country bit by bit, they no longer represent even business. They represent extraction, extracting capital, extracting communities, selling it off to the highest bidder in tax havens around the world. What we will do is rebuild communities. But that starts from you, comrades. That starts from all of us. That starts with us building a strong, resilient local parties. And I want to tell you something, and I want to apologise. I want to say that I was struck by members who have told me that they feel alone in our party at the moment. And I want to apologise from all of us, but me in particular. Because if we have made you feel like you are alone, if we have not reached our arm around you enough in these tough times when you are being purged or set up with false allegations, I not only apologise, I will endeavour to do better, because we have to support each other. We have to support each other, and we have to stay in the party. Because when Jeremy came in last time, the reason, or one of, that we didn't manage to get to victory is because the bureaucrats in our party deliberately destroyed our chances in 2017. And that was because so many of you, understandably good activists, left in the Blair years. You left. This time, we must stay. And don't just go into hiding. We need to work the CLPs. We need to work in the bureaucracy. And so then when? And our time will come, comrades. When the phoenix rises again, we will be there and win the general election.
Thank you, Lloyd. Thank you. Now, our next speaker is that very fantastic woman leader that should have been, that wasn't. Now, could you imagine? And I know, you know, the current leader was democratically elected. It was what it was. But one thing that I will say is there are those people that joined the party because of Jeremy Corbyn, thought that Keir was a Corbyn continuity candidate and voted for Keir, and then they left. You need to come back. You have left us in a situation which you say that you can't bear, and I don't understand how that works. So you need to come back, you need to rejoin the party, and you need to fix what you're saying is wrong. What we have to remember is that everything that we've been able to achieve, we've done in our numbers. Look at what happened with the Labour Green New Deal motion. Look at that. Look at what happened with fighting the initial rule changes. I know it's a little bit funny. But yes, in our numbers, we were able to achieve that. So we need to keep fighting. And we should have elected this woman the leader of our party. If we had elected this woman the leader of our party, things would have been very, very different now. And I'm still proud to say that. So I'm very pleased to introduce to you Rebecca Long-Bailey, the MP for Salford.
Thanks, guys. Now, what a conference it's been so far. And I was looking at my tweets this morning, and on my timeline it said, on this very day in the year 2000, Nelson Mandela addressed the Labour Party conference here in Brighton. He said, "May this century be one where the poor and marginalised come into their own and the gross social inequalities of the past at last eradicated." Well, little did he know that 21 years later on this day, poverty in this country would be at levels we could never have imagined of 10, 20 years ago, and set to get worse as a callous government cuts universal credit even further later this month. Little did he know that we'd be in the midst of a COVID crisis with one of the most incompetent governments presiding over one of the worst death rates in the world. 160,000 lives lost. Vulnerable people discharged from hospitals into care homes amid staff that didn't even have PPE, wearing bin liners. And they did pursue herd immunity, despite what government spokespeople say. And little did Nelson know that this is all bad enough as it is, but we'd be facing a fuel crisis, an energy crisis, a housing crisis, a cost of living crisis, and of course, the climate crisis. So what do you think Nelson would say to us at this party conference? Well, he was a kind, nice man. He wouldn't say the things that I would say, probably in private, put it like that. And I think he would have given one of his famous quotes. He would have said, "Be the script writers of your destiny and feature yourselves as stars that showed the way forward towards a brighter future." Now that's what we should have been doing this week. We should have been setting out that radical vision. We should have been attacking the Tories with a ferocity and a viciousness like never before. But instead, and it breaks my heart, instead we're portrayed as a party that's more concerned about gerrymandering internal election policies than offering our communities better lives. Now, things have got to change. We have got one more day, and I'm ever the optimist. I'm ever for giving advice to the leadership. We've got one more day to turn this around. We've got one more day to outline that radical vision. And we've got the ideas already in abundance. We've got a whole range of policies that we were working on before the last general election. We've all been working on policies since the last general election, despite most of us not being in the shadow cabinet. So we're here to help. If that promise of unity was true, you might not have the ideas, but we do. So tomorrow I want us to talk about some of those fantastic ideas, like the Green New Deal. Don't water it down. It's the biggest economic lever we've ever had to instigate real systemic economic change, as well as saving the environment. I want us to pledge again to commit to public ownership of rail, mail, broadband, energy, water. And don't get confused in interviews and say, well, it's an ideological thing. It's not an ideological thing. Public ownership is necessary. Firstly, to instigate the change we need at the pace it needs to happen to be with any chance of tackling climate change. But secondly, we've got to be honest with our communities. I mean, they know it already. Privatisation has been a failure. As people's energy bills skyrocket this winter, many of our energy companies will report record profits, and their shareholders will line their pockets as every day passes. And at the same time, these companies won't be investing in the critical infrastructure that we need to really boost our chances of reversing climate change and to boost our economy. And do you know what else I want the speech to say tomorrow? I want us as a party to say that we guarantee that no one will ever live in poverty again under a Labour government. And that means guaranteeing a real living wage. It means guaranteeing statutory sick pay at the real living wage. And it means supporting our trade unions when they fight for these things. Because today is a very dark day. Some commentators might dismiss it as, well, it's just factional infighting. Well, one of our oldest trade unions that's been with the party for over 119 years has decided they can't stay in the Labour Party anymore. That is not good news for the party. Now, finally, and I'll come to because I've been talking for quite a long time. I'd say that, look, our communities deserve much better than we've seen this week. We need to be the stars that forge ahead with that bright future, and we can if we actually unite as a party. So the leadership has got to restore our trust that the 10 pledges they made when they got elected, they mean them, and that they're going to build on them. Because demoralisation won't win the next general election. And I've got a message for those who want to continue to demoralise us. Whether it's the Tory party with their policies that attack our communities, or whether it's those within our own party who think that stripping away rights from our members will send us all home with our tails between our legs. There is no rule change that will stop the progress of hope. There is no rule change that will stop us fighting for a better life for our communities. There is no rule change that will stop us from standing up when you kick us to the ground. Because this isn't about a few annoying people that you might want to kick out of the party. It's about a Labour movement that was set up to fight for a quality of life, cradle to grave, for every single person in this country. That's what the Labour Party stands for, and that's what we're all going to fight for. So have faith and fight for that future. It's hard, it's upsetting, it's depressing, but look, our ancestors have been through much worse. Remember that. Solidarity.
Thank you, Becky. Now I think you all get a delight from our next speaker. I'm very pleased to call her a long-time friend. And do you know what? The most important thing, I think, for MPs to have is some consistency. Yeah, some MPs will come in and say X, Y, or Z, and then, you know, when they're coming out the other end, they're talking about A, B, and C. And I think that's really problematic, especially if you're trying to sell yourself as a socialist. But I will tell you that this young woman has been a socialist from the cradle. She has not changed. She's one of the stars of our 2019 intake. Blessed to call her a sister. Zara Sultana, Member of Parliament for Coventry West.
Thank you so much. You'll be relieved to know that I'm not going to be singing Backstreet Boys' I Want It That Way this evening. But I might be doing a karaoke session in this tent next year, so be there. I'm so proud to be here this evening alongside you all, alongside my comrades in the Socialist Campaign Group. This is our first in-person rally, and what an honour it is to be here in Brighton with you all tonight. Thank you so much. When us in the 2019 intake were elected in those dark, depressing days of December 2019, one of the things that gave me hope was joining the Socialist Campaign Group. It was one of the first things I did to join that beautiful tradition and join political heroes like Jeremy, like John, like Diane, and such an honour to be with them here today. And I did that because I know what the tradition of the Socialist Campaign Group represents. It is unapologetically socialist, it is unequivocally internationalist, and it is steadfastly anti-racist. From the great Tony Benn and Bernie Grant to the great comrades we have here today, our political tradition is needed now more than ever. And I want to begin by giving a quick message of solidarity about those comrades. Firstly, Andy McDonald, can we give him yet another round of applause? Andy, Andy, fantastic member of parliament, a great friend, and he is honest and principled, which you can't say for everyone in the party. He proved that again yesterday, refusing orders to argue against a pay rise for our lowest paid workers and a livable sick pay. So let's give our solidarity to Andy once again. Andy! And second, it's nearly a year on since the party leadership disgracefully took the whip away from Jeremy and still hasn't restored it. Here is time to stop betraying your word, and you need to restore the whip now. This conference has been quite an interesting one. Let's have a bit of a rewind. Let's look at what's happened in the run-up to this conference. The party leadership obstructed young Labour members and shamefully suspended Jess Barnard, our wonderful chair. Then they suspended our fantastic comrade, Member of Parliament, Kate Osborne. Shame on them for doing that. And then they tried to rule out the Green New Deal motion out of order, only to be forced into a humiliating U-turn. How shameful, and how I want to congratulate the Green New Deal organisers who have worked relentlessly to get that passed. There are many members and delegates who don't have platforms like we do and who do not have access to lawyers who have been unjustly suspended. So we're sending loads of messages to the leadership. Let's just add another one to that. Instead of waging war on the left, instead of purging members, provide real opposition to the Tories. Do your job. With the leadership suspending delegates, rigging rules, and trying to bounce unions into accepting their changes, let's look at what conference has passed. A socialist Green New Deal, a programme. Yes, let's clap that one more time. Let's go. A socialist Green New Deal, a programme of economic transformation, rapid decarbonisation, and bringing mail, rail, water, and energy into public ownership. A right to food, which my amazing friend, I love Ian Byrne, who's been in the forefront of the Right to Food campaign, that passed. That motion highlights the injustice that shames our nation, where there are more food banks than McDonald's restaurants. And it also passed solidarity with the Palestinian people. Free, free! Free, free! Palestine! Palestine! And today it also committed to end in-work poverty once and for all with a £15 national minimum wage. Let's give that a round of applause. Friends and comrades, the right of the party need to rig the rules and deny members a fair say because they are not strong. No. Fundamentally, they are weak. They don't have the answers to the crises we face, so they can write tens of thousands of words and still say absolutely nothing of substance. I'm happy to offer services to Keir and his team if they do want to write some stuff of substance. I can help with that. We can all help with that. Because while they don't have the answers, we do, and our answers are popular in the party and in the country. The public want to tax the rich. They want to raise taxes on the wealthy. People want rail, mail, energy and water brought into public ownership. People want to end the rip-off landlords that are destroying our communities, and they want real action on the climate emergency. So, let's set out the that bold and hopeful vision, a socialist vision for Britain. They attack us, they attack you, they smear us, they smear Jeremy, they try to lock party members out of our democracy because of what we represent. We represent a threat to the power and privilege of the few, and we give hope to the many. So we came within a whisker of winning 2017, and we can and we will win again. Solidarity.
Zara Sultana. Oh, Zara Sultana. Oh, Zara Sultana. Oh, Zara Sultana. Oh, Zara Sultana. Woo! Thank you, Zara. So Zara touched upon something really important. I just wanted to mention our colleague Kate Osborne and the disgraceful way she was treated by our party. Now, we see things coming at us as socialist MPs on social media about how you should be doing this and you should be doing that and, you know, you're not doing enough. And I think to myself, there are MPs like Kate who are working so hard. She was elected by her constituency. She is a Labour MP, and to treat her in that way is disgraceful, but absolutely disgraceful. And it's so unfair, I think, the way in which we are intimidated in our party. I know many women behind me in particular felt intimidated at one point or another because of the way in which they may have voted or because of something which they may have said, simply because we represent the socialist values which make up the majority of our party, and that is unacceptable. We will not stand for it. Solidarity with Kate, solidarity with all those people that are treated in a particular, and I completely unacceptable. We cannot see that happen again. And to our left journalists, and you know which one of you I'm talking about, if you think that getting headlines is more important than representing what people say factually, you're completely wrong. I'm not going to call you out now, but we are trying to move towards, a socialist future. So you have to be responsible with your reporting. You have to be respectful to these people that take a lot of shit, quite frankly. They take a lot of shit in order to represent our socialist principles, and we absolutely must not forget that. Now, we are pressed for time, imagine that. So I'm going to move straight on to our next speaker. He really needs little introduction, so we can all get up and start whooping and hollering for the People's Chancellor, Mr. John McDonald.
Okay. Bell mentioned intimidation. Let them bloody well try. Look, over the years at the campaign group rallies, what would happen is that the whole range of speakers, as tonight, would, I think, just express the solid emotion that we have as socialists about the sort of society we want to create, and also express a view about the role of the Labour Party and all the rest. And I used to find it really exciting, and it would be Tony Benn, some of you will have heard him speak. It was so just emotional to hear him sum up all those things. It would be Dennis Skinner, who would I once saw someone heckle Dennis Skinner. I just want to hope he's now out of hospital. And then, of course, Diane. I just say this. We all think, as Bell says, we get a lot of crap and all the rest. No one has experienced what Diane has experienced. And and she always came through it. And I loved that picture of her having a drink on the tube. To be honest, I did, I'll be honest with you, I did get a bit nasty because I said, why didn't you invite us all? Because we could have had a campaign group carriage. And then, what would we do? And then, of course, Jeremy would come on and he'd largely talk about the international affairs and the way in which he had been campaigning with various trade unions and all the rest. And then I'd come on, and I was the hard case, I'm afraid. So I'd have to come on and explain to people, that's all very good talking about these things. Well, what the fuck are we going to do about it? And so that's what I'm going to do tonight. Because, first of all, the first thing we always do, is it's been done a bit tonight, we express solidarity to all those who are engaging in class struggle tonight. And one group are the app drivers and couriers who are exploited by Uber and are striking tonight. Solidarity. In the next...
Disabled people against cuts.
See, we always had a form of democratic engagement unless people interrupted me too much. In a week's time, UCU will be balloting its members across London for a strike action and against cuts. Solidarity. And I say this also, the union Jeremy and I have worked with over decades on picket lines on every occasion there's been a dispute. I say to the bakers, even though you've disaffiliated, let me assure you, we will be your voice in Parliament and we will stand with you. We've passed a number of resolutions this week which actually do reflect the dynamism that we had when we developed the manifestos for 2017, 2019, and actually took them further, which was terrific. But you know as well as I do what will happen now. Unless we wage a struggle within the Labour Party, those resolutions will be shelved and ignored. So now the struggle is with the Labour Party. And let me say this, 3 steps. First, and there's no other way of doing this, and I'm sorry if I'm harsh with people, but you cannot fight the fight unless you're in the struggle. And that means our primary task at the moment is to build the membership. I want a party not of 500,000 but 1 million socialists out there. And the way we build is, yes, it's an intellectual exercise of argument and discussion, of course it is, but the best form of building is to be alongside and part of every industrial struggle, every occupation, every demonstration, every social movement that's forcing progressive change in this country. The second is about ideas. Our struggle is about building the membership and taking action to do that. Our second is it's always best to bear a Gramsci, and we've got to hegemonize the ideological struggle as well. We've got to be the agency of new ideas and policies within the party that we campaign for and develop. The right have not had an original idea for 20 years. It's our role to ensure that we develop that analysis, those ideas, that political education, where all of us become trained as cadres in this struggle. finally, let me just say this. If we build the membership, if we ensure we're clear about our analysis and our views and what we want to do as we go into government, the third strand of this, and this is a warning to some, we challenge for position at every opportunity we can. Keir Starmer has said today in an interview, they asked him, what do you put above first, unity in the party or winning elections? He said winning elections. He doesn't understand. The two go together. So it's our job. It's our job to unite this movement when they fail to do so. That's our role for this coming period. And stand in solidarity in every struggle, in every action that we need to take to ensure that happens. As one movement, a labour and trade union movement, our movement, solidarity.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Everyone must stay and fight. But whilst we're here, I just wanted to give a shout. You heard me talk before about how Socialist Campaign Group now includes peers. Now we know what our ideological position is on the House of Lords chamber, and that remains the same. But when that day comes, and I believe it will, when we have an elected chamber, I'd be proud to campaign or vote for any one of those fantastic peers that currently find themselves in the Socialist Campaign Group. And we do have one here. Pauline, are you here? There. Big cheer for Pauline Bryan, please. You have to come up. I won't let you make a speech, but you are a member of the Socialist Campaign Group and you should be up here. Right, so we are running rough behind time. I'm getting some evil eyes. And the person I'm getting the evil eyes from, he is. Now we all know there is a chair. That is me, I'm the figure. Woo. It's only because I'm way better looking than he is. But the person who does all the work and the person who keeps us in line is our fantastic secretary, Richard Burgon, who is the Member of Parliament for Leeds East.
Thanks very much, Belle. And the first thing I want to say to everyone in this room is I've missed you. It's 2 years. 2 years since we've done a public meeting, but we're back together. We're back together and we're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I just want to tell the media who are here tonight, who do a good job reporting us so often. The rumours of the death of the Labour left are somewhat exaggerated. The Labour left is alive. The Labour left is winning on the conference floor. The Labour left is winning in the streets, and the Labour left will again one day win a leadership election. So we saw how we started this conference. We started it with the 2 words on the lips of all my constituents in the pubs and clubs and in the living rooms and in the parks. And those 2 words that my constituents say to me most often are electoral college. What a joke. What a joke. what a sick joke when you see what the Tories are doing, and that's the best we can come up with. The truth is, the Tories, the way they've handled this pandemic, have got blood on their hands. And the best the Labour leadership could come up with was bloody rule changes. And it ended in the grotesque chaos of a Labour leader scurrying around Brighton trying to draft the terms of his own redundancy notice. But you know, now my name's Richard, but you know, leaders come, leaders go, but principles remain. Principles are eternal. Principles are immortal. And it will be principles that save our society from the misery the Tories and the free market capitalist system they serve has put it in. And it's principles, an organisation that will save humanity and the globe from the consequences of the biggest free market failure in the history of our planet, which is climate catastrophe. The left has the answers, and the answers ain't rule changes. Let's have some humility from the grown-ups who are in charge again. I remember being told, it's so easy to be leader of the opposition. Why is Jeremy having to take so much nonsense? It's easy. Once we're in charge again, we'll show you. They're not making it look very easy. They're not making it look very easy at all. But the truth is, and it gives me no pleasure to say it, the Labour Party leadership in one of the biggest crises of public health and living standards that our communities have ever faced has been missing in action. And that, my friends, is unforgivable. And it's not a good look. We're talking about these 10 pledges. It's not a good look to the country not to be honouring the pledges, not to be honouring the pledges you're elected upon. Now, I know there are plenty of lawyers at the top of the Labour Party, and something I learnt about when I was at law college myself was the concept in contractual law of misrepresentation. Just look it up. So what do we need to do going forward? We need to stay in this fight. They know we can win this fight. That's why they want you to leave this fight, and that's why they're trying to kick you out of this fight. During this crisis, let's put forward the practical solutions, because we know the majority of our party will support a wealth tax on the super rich, and so will the majority of people in this country. We know the majority of people in our party will support a national care service, and so will the majority of people in this country. We know the majority of people in our party will support a Green New Deal, and so will the majority of people in this country. We know the majority of people in our party will support 1 million new council homes, and so will the people in this country. We know the majority of people in our party will support a better deal for working people, and so do people the length and breadth of this country. I was pleased to hear a fantastic quote from one of the great heroes of humanity, Nelson Mandela, earlier. I want to share another quote, a quote from one of my heroes, a person who was an independence fighter and poet in Cuba in the 1800s. Jose Marti said, "Humanity is our homeland. Humanity is our homeland." And that's what drives us. Our common humanity, our love for each other, regardless of where you were born, regardless of what side of the borders you live on. We believe in humanity, peace and love at home and abroad, around the world. And someone from closer to my home than Jose Marti from Cuba, someone called Harold Wilson from Huddersfield or Liverpool. Liverpool, he ended up with a statue in Huddersfield. So there were no borders between Yorkshire and the Merseyside, it was fine. But Harold Wilson said, "The Labour Party is a moral crusade or it is nothing." Too many people, thanks to this policy void the leadership have left, are thinking and believing that the Labour Party stands for nothing at this time of the crisis. So it's your job to make sure that we're a moral crusade. Are we going to be a moral crusade or are we going to be nothing? We are going to make the Labour Party a moral crusade. We're going to make the Labour Party, in the words of Aneurin Bevan, a sword of democracy pointed at the heart of property power. We're going to build up better society. You're going to build up better society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. And I'd just like to say, as everybody knows, we wouldn't be able to be here without the fantastic World Transformed. Now, the World Transformed is run on a shoestring budget, but even with that, they make sure that those that can't afford a ticket are given one. And it's mainly seen through by volunteers, so please give a hand to all of the volunteers. If you would like to see the World Transformed grow, please consider becoming a supporter for as little as £1. £1, just a pound. Go onto the World Transformed website and click on support and give whatever you can. We're so happy to be here again, and we want to keep coming back and holding the Socialist Campaign Group rally every single time there is a Labour Party conference. So please do support the World Transformed. Now, our final speaker this evening, last but certainly not least, I think you've all figured out who it is by now. And we just have to say that for 6 years ago now, Jeremy Corbyn inspired our movement, led our party and set us on a course for a socialist transformational vision of the future. And that was no small feat, because the right wing and the right-wing press set on a course of crapping themselves for 5 years. 5 years! 5 years. They were so scared that this man could be the Prime Minister of this country that they relentlessly pursued him in such a disgraceful way. And we are so pleased that up until today, there are so many of you that continue to stand in solidarity with Jeremy Corbyn and every single thing that he stands for, every single thing that he's done for our party. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Jeremy Corbyn.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Belle, and thank you all of you for coming here tonight. Thank you to the World Transformed for putting on this event and giving us the space and the place for the spirit of our movement to be able to discuss, debate, and imagine and work for a socialist future. That is the kind of party I want, that is organised and rooted in every community in the country, where you bring people together, whatever their background, and a huge variety of views, in order to construct a future of peace and social justice. That is the kind of movement I want to be part of. And I want to say a big thank you to my friend Lloyd for his work for the almost local MP. His constituency starts about 77 metres from the edge of this tent. So we're almost there, aren't we, Lloyd? And Lloyd, through you, can I just say a big thank you to the people of Brighton, so welcoming, so friendly, and such a brilliant place. And you're never more than 100 metres away from a cafe selling cappuccino. Absolutely brilliant. But what a great city, what a wonderful place. And I want to say thank you to a lot of people, but one person who has only been mentioned once tonight, but I think we should, because you've probably noticed that members of the Socialist Campaign Group disproportionately go through hell, high water and beyond at the hands of the media, the briefing machines and everything else. We've talked about Nadia, you've talked about Apsana, you've talked about the way Diane has been treated. Can we just have a thought tonight in absolute solidarity with our great friend Claudia Webb for what she's going through? Brilliant comrade, brilliant anti-racist campaigner and fighter all of her life. And I want to say thank you to fellow members of the Socialist Campaign Group. I joined the Socialist Campaign Group in 1983. And those days, it was Tony Benn, it was Eric Heffer, it was Joan Maynard, later joined by Alice Mann, and many, many other fantastic and wonderful comrades. Life wasn't always easy. We were often under attack and often threatened with all kinds of things. And Dennis Skinner used to speak with force and ferocity and length at campaign group meetings, whatever the size of the audience. And one time he's giving it out big time, you know, and so on. And Tony is sitting next to him, braces, shirt, and so on. And then Dennis suddenly stopped. Just stopped like that. And Joan Maynard, some of you may remember her, wonderful, wonderful woman, said, "Have you finished, Dennis?" "No." "Have you got more to say, Dennis?" "Yep." "Dennis, it's a little awkward. You've stopped speaking, but apparently you've got more to say, and you appear to be refusing to go on." "Yep." So Joan said, "Dennis, whatever's the matter?" And then he looks at Tony, who was sitting back like this, with his pencil in his hand, and Tony had been writing a lot throughout Dennis's earlier contribution. And Dennis said, "I'll start speaking when he starts writing, because I want my words in his diary." And it was that incredible sense of humour and sharpness of Dennis, Tony, Eric Heffer, and so many other great people that fought so many battles on the picket lines during the miners' strike, the dockers' strikes, and so much else, and of course in Liverpool supporting the dockers there as well. All of that solidarity came out of the Socialist Campaign Group. The numbers weren't always great, and during the depths of the New Labour years, at one point it was John, Diane and me would meet together and we'd divvy up the positions, chair, secretary, treasurer, treasurer, secretary, chair, or we did a job share, or whatever else. But we felt the importance of having that socialist focus within Parliament as Labour MPs. And look at it now. Look at the number that have come, and look at the growth of it. Look at these wonderful comrades here on the platform. Fantastic comrades. So I want to say thank you to all of them for all they've done. But MPs are only MPs because of a movement. They're only MPs because they've been elected. They're only MPs because of the work put in by Labour activists to get them elected. And that's why democracy in our party is so important. That is why the Parliamentary Labour Party, which constitutionally from 1918 onwards had enormous power over the rest of the movement, the power to elect the leader and so much else. And gradually that power was chipped away, that influence was chipped away. Why? Because of the foundation of the campaign for Labour Party democracy all those years ago. And I have to confess, I was there at the original conspiracy to democratise the Labour Party when we founded the CLPD. And so, beware of shifting the power of accountability away from party members and trade union members. A movement is only as strong as the activity and the accountability of its leadership to its members and vice versa. And that is why I'm so depressed that we've wasted so much time at this conference discussing a rule change that nobody wanted, nobody asked for, and nobody demanded, when we should be fighting for the big issues that face this country. And also, because I'm worried about Bell giving me that ominous tap on the shoulder about time. Thank you, audience, you're on my side. I want to say thank you to so many other people, to the unions, both affiliated and not affiliated to this party, for the work they've done, the support they gave us. The Fire Brigades Union, National Education Union, Bakers Union, Unite, Communication Workers Union, ASLEF, RMT, TSSA, and so many others, all those activists in Unison, GMB, and all the other unions that have done so much to energise and enthuse and bring about the policies that John, that Becky, that Diane, and so many others, Andy in particular, were able to develop during our period of leadership of this party. This party was founded by working class communities through their unions and their trades councils. And that is why the future of this party has to be one that is about community activism, which is why I was so pleased that we managed, with the great energy of Carrie Murphy, to set up the community organising unit of this party, and why we have to carry on that work, because there is no way forward for a left political party in the modern world to pitch up a month before an election, bang on the door and say, vote for us because we look the nicest people. And we'll manage things differently and better, but we'll still manage things. You've got to be there on the high days, the bad days, the good days, and the days when there's utter misery. You've got to be there supporting those fighting for union recognition, fighting for decent housing, fighting for fair rents, fighting for their health service, fighting for secure work, ending fire and rehire, all those other issues. That is why the movement has to be there in the communities 24/7, 365 days of the year. That is the way and place our movement should be. And I want to say a huge thank you to all those anti-racist campaigners all over the country, all over Europe, the USA, and indeed all over the world, that have taken inspiration from Black Lives Matters, challenged institutional racism in every form in which it appears, and challenged the teaching of history in our schools to bring about a decolonized curriculum and a better understanding of where our history comes from. And to recognize the struggles of the past, the struggles of those that ended slavery, the slaves that died to end slavery, those that fought against the anti-Semitism of the turn of the 19th and 20th century, that fought against the fascists in the 1920s and 30s, and of course all those that stood up against the Nazis, which ended in the Holocaust. Next Sunday, I'll be with Apsana, with Sharon Graham and many others at Cable Street, commemorating the alliance of the Jewish community and the Irish community to stop the March of Moseley through the East End of London, which had such a massive impact on that community and our history. And so it is about how we relate to people in their communities, understand how we won an education system, how we won an NHS, how women won the right to vote, how we got disability discrimination, how we fight back against the rolling back of all the advances made by this Tory government. But look around you to our society now. Look around you. When there are more food banks than there are branches of McDonald's in this country, when there's a bigger gap between the richest and the poorest than there's been for decades. Look around you at those living in poor quality, unregulated, private rented sector accommodation. Look around you at those on insecure wages and contracts, fearful of what was going to happen next. Look around you at all those suffering in the mental health crisis, a mental health crisis created by a crisis created by free market economics, which drives so many people to despair and distraction. And so, to deal with these issues, you can't tinker with the economy. You've got to redistribute wealth and power. You've got to challenge the unaccountable. And you've got to empower people in order to bring about the changes that we all know to be so very necessary. And then look at it on the global scale. The pandemic has shown us just what happens when millions, nay billions, are denied any access to any kind of health care. The pandemic has shown us how much money can be made by governments handing out contracts to their mates on behalf of their mates in order to enrich them, while not giving a damn about how ineffective so much of that has been. We need an inquiry, a real inquiry, into the way this government conducted the pandemic. But the biggest issue is globally the environmental crisis we face. We cannot go on as a people, as human beings, as a planet, destroying the natural world, the biodiversity, polluting the rivers, polluting the oceans, burning the forests, destroying what nature provides and sustains us with. The environment isn't just a set of policies, it's a state of mind of how you relate to the rest of the world. And that's why we thought a great deal. Becky and Barry in particular put a huge amount of energy into developing a green industrial revolution that would not punish those working in industries that pollute, but would instead be a force for change, a force for good quality jobs, and a force for sustainability. All these things stand the test of time. And whatever's been said this week on rule changes, and plenty's been said on that, it's very interesting that party members have seen through so much of that and voted for the Green New Deal and the Green Industrial Revolution. And internationally, where, surely to goodness, 20 years on from the bombing of Afghanistan, then the bombing of Iraq, then the bombing of Libya, then the war in Syria, and Afghanistan a country now left without food, without medicine, and in total devastation in many places. That is 20 years of Western occupation. Can we turn the dial and not go into war after war after war, but instead show solidarity with people in struggle for their own self-determination and their own salvation, and stand up for human rights and peace and justice all around the world? Because the consequences of war do not go away. The consequences of war are the dead, are the grieving families of the dead soldiers, and are the refugees, of whom there are now 70 million in the world. More refugees than there are people in Britain, across the world. And history, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, is not going to be kind to the politicians in the early part of this century who've made it their mission to attack those that seek safety, to attack refugees and drive them away, jail them, imprison them and vilify them. Where is our humanity and where is our solidarity when we need it? And I finish with this. Let's not go down the road of more nuclear weapons and the AUKUS Pact and all the rest of it. Let's do something more sensible and put our energies into creating a long-term and peaceful world. And I feel the tap is about to come on my left shoulder. So I'll finish with this. Thank you. I can say this because I'm the oldest person on this platform. I've been around and checked. I've checked everybody's birth certificate, and I definitely am. So, thank you very much. Oh, yes, well done. We look dreadfully old. Thank you, Richard. Comrade. I want to say this about young people and the young generation. Why, oh why, are we as a society and a community moving at such a pace to create such misery for so many young people? I talk to young people in school, in stress because they're over-examined because of the stress they're put under. I talk to young people going through a mental health crisis brought about by that level of stress, and in the case of my own constituency and that of my comrades on the platform, living in insecure, overcrowded housing. I then talk to young people who've gone to college or uni, and you're talking, 40, maybe 50% in some areas of the population that go to college or uni and come out with a £50,000 debt, which the coalition government, yes, the coalition government, not only increased the fees, but also privatised the debt. And the government is now proposing more to claim that debt back and to lower the income threshold where you would start to repay it. And then to young people, knowing full well the chances of getting council housing are pretty limited unless you have children, large needs, etc. You all know the story on that. Forced to live in very expensive, insecure, private rented accommodation with no chance of anything else because they can't save to buy, they can't get access to council housing. So a lifetime of college debt, high rents, and now insecure jobs and fire and rehire. And the pensions that an older generation were entitled to, not being available for them, and a miasma, a mega storm of advertising about why you shouldn't rely on the National Health Service, you should buy your way into private health insurance. So I want us to stand with young people for decent quality jobs, for an end to university fees, for an end to the debt system, for decent housing, and for real hope for those young people. Because they are the ones that are standing up against the racists. They're the ones that are standing up against the cuts. They're the ones that are coming out and giving us that hope. And so our movement is a movement within the Labour Party and stay and fight in the Labour Party, but it's a movement also of bringing people together in that collective hope and that collective ambition. Socialism is not just a set of economic issues, not just a set of policy documents, not just a set of electoral results here, there, and everywhere else. It is a movement of hope, of collective aspiration. It is music, it is art, it is poetry, it is culture together. Because, like Richard, I take inspiration from those that stood against the most unbelievable odds to found trade unions, to found this party, to found these social movements of today. And you know what? When we come together through the world transformed, we're emboldened and we're stronger. And we'll go away and be emboldened and stronger. We'll mobilize in those communities. And yes, we will win. We will change the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for literally standing for socialism all of this time. You've been absolutely fantastic audience. Solidarity with our sister Claudia Webb. Solidarity with all of our Socialist Campaign Group members who are at home watching, wherever that camera is. Hi! Hi, people. We love you and wish you all here. What's left for me to say is please, please, please do follow what the Socialist Campaign Group are doing. You can go onto our website, sign up to our newsletter, follow us on Twitter, but above all, stand with us. Keep instructing us. Keep telling us what it is that is needed. We are here to represent you, and unlike some people, we don't believe that leaders should choose who vote for them. We believe that you should choose who. I believe that you should be choosing who represents you. And do you know, what I want to say to you is, yes, we come here to speak to you. Yes, we come here to have this fantastic rally and really kind of lift everybody's spirits on the left, but it is as much for us as it is for you. It is for you. It's been so fantastic to see people coming out today, standing for socialism. And all I would say is, I hope that you have found from this fantastic group of people that I am proud to call my comrades, that the future is bright and the future is socialist. Thank you very much.
Let's have a round of applause for our MPs! Woo! MPs, if we could keep all of our MPs on the stage, we're going to have a banner picture for the right to food. If everyone in the crowd could get your phones out and get ready to take a picture, guys, we're going to take a picture. The hashtag is right to food. Ian Byrne, hashtag right to food. Yeah, the hashtag is right to food. I'm going to move out the way. Amazing, amazing. So big round of applause for our MPs and Jeremy Corbyn. And an even bigger round of applause for the Social Campaign Group for putting this incredible event on. My name's Chantal Lunt, I'm joined by Dan Lewis, and we've been presenting the World Transform TV today, and we just want to say a massive well done to everyone for coming along today. Now, what we do need you to do, we need you to Go onto the World Transformed, have a little look. Here's Dan, he's going to tell you what you need to do.
Yeah, what's going on, people? I hope you lot have all been tuned into TWT TV on YouTube. If you haven't, go check it out. For the people at home that are watching it, the World Transformed is about you guys. And after tonight, we need you to go to the worldtransformed.org and hit that donate button so we can come back in Liverpool 2022 bigger and better than ever. You need to head to the worldtransformed.org. Make sure you're donating. Make sure you're supporting. Become a part of our network. Become a part of our community, and make sure we can keep providing political education all year round.
Right, guys, well done. Give yourselves a round of applause. What we do need you to do is we need people to leave the tent as calmly and in orderly fashion as you can, because we need to set up for the next event. There is going to be another event, which is a bandstand. It's a band are going to be playing in this tent. So go online, follow the World Transformed, and donate so we can bring this back bigger and better in Liverpool. While you're there, follow Merseyside BLM Alliance, follow myself, follow Dan, Chantal Lunt, Dan Lewis. Well done, guys. This has been incredible. Woo!
So if you can, please leave the tent, but don't leave the festival gardens. The bar is still open. We've got fantastic volunteers there. Be patient with them. And we've got Collectiva on stage very, very soon. So if you guys can just make your way out of the tent, they'll be able to do their sound check, and we will have live music for you right here to finish off the World Transform 2021. Make sure you hit us up online, theworldtransform.org. Join Momentum today. Become a part of the movement. Make sure that you are the future that transforms the world. This is the World Transformed. Big up you guys. Big up everyone inside the place. Give us a cheer, and we'll see you at the bar.